Today is September 30th, and the time for f***ing around is over. The Yankees play the rubber game of a 3-game set versus the Blue Jays tonight, who will be sending their ace and possible Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray to the mound. To counter, the Yankees have Corey Kluber, who has a couple of Cy Young Awards of his own under his belt, but will pitch the biggest game of his Yankees career thus far. My recap, your reactions, next. This is Yankees Game Night. Big, enormous win for the Yankees tonight, guys and gals. 159 games in the books. Tomorrow, the odometer kicks over to 160 games, and there has not been a more crucial victory than tonight. First 6 games of the 9-game gauntlet that we talked about a few days ago, and the Yankees have risen to the occasion in a fashion that I didn't think they would. They are 5-1 so far. If a time traveler had come up to me this afternoon and said, the Yankees are going to get 6 hits tonight, total, I would have figured they lost the game. But 5 out of the 6 hits, home runs. Bronx Bombers indeed.
That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.
Black Swan says, no flames on the TV. That's only for win streaks. That's what we do for win streaks. If you caught the Michael K show today, and I'm an addict of his show this time of year, and you know how important tonight's game is. Shout out to Ryan Monk, by the way, who posts the clips on YouTube. Michael K went over how important this game was. The Blue Jays and the Red Sox both have winnable series, sweepable series this weekend. So the Yankees needed to win. They needed a big win against a big pitcher in a tough spot. And they did. They got a huge victory. Nights like tonight are where you find out what a team is really made of. Who's a contender and who is a pretender. Yankees have been Jekyll and Hyde all season. We talked months ago about, do they need to be rebuilt? Because they were all right-handed. They were slow. They were unathletic. You go out and you get a couple of lefties. Bullpen gets a little stronger with Severino back. Looks like a totally different team at this point. Tonight, they showed up. This was not the team that got beat by the Indians last weekend at home. Totally different ball club. And it's worth mentioning that when Brian Cashman gambled $11 million on the reclamation project of Corey Kluber, they did so for nights like tonight, where you don't have Garrett Cole on the mound. You need a solid veteran presence to keep you in the game. Bats in the bullpen did the rest. Nice job by Corey Kluber. The belt feels like a fait accompli, but go ahead and make your voices heard. 307 votes so far, and Aaron Judge running away with it. And why not? Led off, actually didn't lead off, but got the scoring started in the first inning. Absolutely titanic home run, 455 feet to center field, his longest of the year. It went over the restaurants out there. That ball would have come close to going over the restaurant at Yankee Stadium, I think. Just an absolute bomb. And the stadium got so quiet at that point. I don't know if I've ever heard Toronto, which is can be kind of a hostile environment. I don't think I've ever heard them get that silent before. Bottom of the first, Corey Kluber allows a leadoff single, but gets a nice, easy double play. He's been pretty good at inducing double play ground balls this season all year long. Doesn't always get the double play because the defense hasn't always been great, but he's pretty good at getting that ground ball when you got a runner on first and less than 2 outs. Bottom of the second, Corey Dickerson with a great at-bat, doubles off the right field wall to tie it. Two-seamer from Kluber just got too much of the plate. Aaron Judge gets the Yankees out of the inning with a great diving catch on a blooper. Both pitchers kind of settled in at that point. Bottom of the fifth, Corey Kluber allows a base hit to George Springer and then gets what appears to be another double play ball, but it was reversed after a replay. Ends up being a huge play because a couple of pitches later, Guerrero drilled one off the top of the center field wall, an inch or so away from being a 2-run home run, gave the Jays the lead. That was the end of the night for Corey Kluber. And conceivably, depending on what happens the rest of the way for the Yankees, that could be his final pitch as a Yankee. Final line for him, 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. He finishes the year with a 3.82 ERA. Not bad. Didn't throw enough innings this year, but I wouldn't say he was worth all $11 million, but tonight was a crucial performance, and he did his job. Yankees struck back immediately after the Guerrero double. Solo home run by Anthony Rizzo to tie it up. That was his 250th home run of his career. Just got out. It was a high fly ball, 21st of the year. Judge follows that up with his second home run of the night, 39th of the season, 441 feet to make it 3-2. 97 ribby for Judge. He's putting himself in the MVP conversation. He won't win, but he might finish top 3. Just an awesome game for Judge, both sides of the plate. Stanton walks, and then Gleyber Torres, as you see on the screen, 2-run shot to center field, 425 feet. You could hear a pin drop inside that stadium. And that was it for Robbie Ray. Yankees led 5-2 at that point. Mike King had a good night tonight, 1 in the 3rd scoreless innings. DJ LeMahieu left the game in the bottom of the 6th with a sore hip. He's been playing on an artificial surface with a sore hip. That's not good. Could not have helped. Luis Severino came in for the bottom of the 7th and worked a 1-2-3 inning. Had all 3 pitches going. Fastball was 97, 98. Slider was really sharp. Changeup was good. He is going to be an X factor going forward. He really could be a difference maker in the postseason. You know, postseason, a lot of times it comes down to bullpen games. And Severino, if you get him stretched out to where he can throw 2 or 3 innings, and I don't think they'll have any issue throwing him 3 innings in a playoff game in a big spot if he's pitching well, could be a difference maker. Aaron Boone took him out after the 7th inning, went to Chad Green in the 8th, gave up a double, but the Jays do not score. Brett Gardner hit the Yankees' 5th home run of the night, 10th of the year in the top of the 9th to make it 6-2. And Aroldis Chapman picked up
Yankees win!
first dono of the night. Ronnie says, bought his plane tickets for the wild card 2 weeks ago. Looking more and more like he's headed to New York City. Got to take care of Tampa first. You got that right. The work is not done. Yankees' magic number is 2. Thank you, Ronnie.
Ronnie, the dono legend.
So it says it's buffering, so sorry if we had a little bit of an issue there. Mark Stenru says, is Boston officially collapsing now? They lost again tonight. They're not in good shape. They have not been playing well. Obviously, the Yankees ended a 7-game win streak for them with those ugly jerseys. And now they're stumbling. They're just, they're not playing well. They are, I don't want to say collapsing, but they are definitely on the verge of collapse. Shane Johnson says, time to put the C on the Judge jersey. We host the wild card. Appreciate it, Shane. Super chat from Patrick Jameson, $4.99. Appreciate that, Pat. You can always type something in and I'll put it on the screen. Appreciate that. Unhinged says, I hope the Rays pillow is soaked with tears. Oh, Rays, not the Rays. I hope the Rays, but also Robbie Rays. Appreciate that, Pat.
Hey, yo, Pat's in the house. We got Unhinged Pat up in this motherfucker.
Micah says, great win. Kluber back next year. Thank you, Micah. That's an interesting question about Corey Kluber. I was thinking about that tonight. I definitely don't think he'll get $11 million. I think, he worked really hard this winter to be able to pitch an entire season. And then he went down with a shoulder injury that cost him multiple months. So I think any team is going to be hesitant to hand out 10 plus million to him. Would not shock me, though, because he does seem to fit well into that clubhouse. And, Mike King has learned a lot from him. He seems to be a good tutor. Would not shock me if they brought him back for like 3 to 5 million. A really low end contract to where it doesn't matter if he gets hurt because you'll have somebody step in from the minor leagues and provide basically the same amount of production. Ruben Cruz says Aaron Judge is 1 home run away from 40. Hope him and Stanton, I think he means, get to the 100 RBI mark in these final 3 games. Cruise control. Cruise control. Cool Rotary says the Bronxy Bombers. I love it. And you get the, let's see here. You get this. Jack Wagner says, who paints Robbie Ray's pants? Jerry Seinfeld has a great joke about going through the airport security and how the lady who's always scanning your bag is always wearing the tightest jeans possible. And I just thought about that all night when I was looking at Robbie Ray and his spray painted on pants. Kyle Johnson says, Tyone threw off a flat ground today. Would you want him in the playoffs if he's cleared? Maybe out of the bullpen. I'm not starting him. I just don't trust his ankle. We can't rely on a starter who's going to get knocked out nice and early. I would be very, very cautious about the way I use him. Mason says, go Yanks. Appreciate that. Mason. Phoenix Flame says, come here after the postgame. So much entertaining, not like the postgame. Hey, I appreciate that, Phoenix. This show, it used to be when I first started, it was kind of like an ego thing. I would get on here and I would talk about how much I knew about baseball or whatever. And I've realized that it's so much better when I've reshaped it to be around your reactions. So I provide a little intro. At heart, I'm a video editor, so I like putting together the clips and making it kind of fun. And then I do my recap because I'm a writer. And then I let you guys have it. And to me, it's a lot more fun this way when I get to hear your varied reactions. Eric C says, will Tyone be brought back next year too? So Eric, the thing about Tyone is that he's still under team control. I think they can offer him arbitration or they can tender him a contract, and he's under team control. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with those rules, with the rules of team control. There's a few people in here who comment on these chats frequently. Douglas Rao is one. He's fantastic. He knows all those rules. Those guys I rely on for the contract data. I think Tyone will be back because he was pretty good. I know his ERA is over 4, but he had a much better second half than the first half, and he took the ball, and that's important. That's super important. He was consistent this year for much of the season. Stone Cold says, Braves had Hammer and Hank. We have Jam and Judge. Appreciate that, Stone Cold. Xavier says, do you think DJ injury is serious to keep him out a while? Appreciate the dono. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to speculate, but to me, I've had a hip injury when I was a sophomore in high school, and it altered the way I walked for a year. The hip is so important. Bo Jackson, the greatest athlete of all time, in my opinion, the greatest one I've ever seen. I still remember I was in a hotel room once when he made that catch where he ran up on the wall. I got to see that live. Bo Jackson had a hip injury. Now, his, granted, was much more serious. He had a hip replacement, but he was never the same. It pretty much ended his career. It definitely ended his football career. The hip is such an important part of an athlete's, ability to move around, of anybody's ability to move around. Without knowing how severe it is, I can only speculate, but I would imagine that it was barking a little bit because the AstroTurf, or whatever you call it, it's not AstroTurf anymore, but the artificial surface in Toronto is probably pretty tough. Jack Meenan says, do you think the AL Cy Young race changes after tonight? I do not. I still think Ray is going to win. Arben Shez says, what's up with the glove? I've mentioned this a few times. I get really bad carpal tunnel. I still work a full-time job. This is kind of a side hustle for me. And so I work all day doing video work and things like that. And it's tough on the hands, and I get a lot of inflammation and things like that. And then I work during the entire game. I write my monologue there, and I put together all the highlights and make this whole thing. So at the end of a 162 game season now, I also did a whole bunch of preseason games. The hand is starting to bark. So I wear this compression glove. It kind of keeps the swelling down, takes away some of the pain. Dean Jones is 80 years old, watched for 70. I don't know if it's your birthday, but congrats on 80 years. By the way, happy birthday to my dad if you're watching. He turns 72 tomorrow morning. Let's see. Actually, in about an hour and 7 minutes. Let's see here. Got a few more. Doug L says, what a sweet at-bat by Gardy in the 9th. 100% agree. Big home run for Gardy.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Who would have thought that Brett Gardner would have more home runs than Gleyber Torres, who also hit one tonight? Brett Gardner has 10. Gleyber Torres has 9. Interesting. Jack Wagner says, Tyone with his injury history was questionable acquisition to begin with, so I don't know how you can count on him moving forward. Well, the reason his injuries were occurring was based on his pitching motion. Before the season, I released a video that said, I'm way more excited now about Jameson Tyone. And it was because he changed completely his pitching mechanics. I'm a studier of pitching mechanics. I pitched for a long time. And I understand what causes stress on the elbow. And to me, the changes he made created much more momentum towards the home plate using his big frame. And so it took some pressure off of that elbow. And so I thought that, he would have a good year, and he did. R. Singh says, keep Sevy in the pen next year. That's a great question. Part of me says no, because you want him to pitch as many innings as possible. But his injury history over the last couple of years suggests that maybe he's better off with a lighter workload. You've seen guys do that in the past. Dennis Eckersley came up as a starter. He had some injury issues, became a reliever. John Smoltz was a starter and a reliever. A lot of guys. Mariano Rivera was more performance-based, and, his size, he became, he was a starter and became a, obviously, Hall of Fame reliever. Severino doesn't have that problem. He's a big, strong guy, and he's gotten stronger since he went on the injured list, and he's looked really good out of the bullpen. Honestly, I'd be tempted to put him in the bullpen next year. If I were running the team, I would tell Severino, hey, look, you haven't pitched in a couple of years for a significant amount of innings. We're not going to throw you 200 innings and have you be gassed by the postseason. We're just not going to do that. We're not going to risk you getting hurt. Pitch this year out of the bullpen. Give us 65, 70 innings. Next year, you become a starter. You can throw 120, 130, move to the bullpen and become another weapon at the end of the season. That's the way I would approach it, but I'm just a fan. What the hell do I know? We got to award the belt, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. It's a fait accompli. We forgot to award it, but drawing out the suspense here.
Belt winner!
Aaron Judge. 2 home runs tonight. He's probably going to get 40. Pete says, I'm hoping to see Judge hit 40 and 100 RBIs. Love those big round numbers. I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Phoenix Flame says, can we sign Trevor Story? I don't think the Yankees are going to spend on Trevor Story, and I don't think they're going to try and get more right-handed either. Honestly, I think they might go with Oswaldo Cabrera to begin the season. He's in AAA. He had a really good season as a switch hitter. He's a good defensive player. I think he might be your starting shortstop to begin the season next year. You also might see Tyler Wade. He hasn't really gotten his chance to be a everyday shortstop, but he played well when he was the shortstop or when he was playing every day this summer. Excuse me. And I don't think you can have Gio Urshela play an entire season at shortstop. I think they're going to want to move him back to third. I don't know what they're going to do with DJ LeMahieu. I could see DJ LeMahieu moving over to first base if the Yankees choose not to bring back Luke Voit. Luke Voit is on the IL now. I'm thinking Luke Voit's career as a Yankee is probably over. Winks Win, with a great comment, says, I think Bo Jackson had aseptic necrosis of the hip where the blood is simply cut. The blood supply is cut and the head of the femur slowly disintegrates. Hence, he needed a hip replacement. I'm judging by your picture that you're a doctor, so I am not going to question you. Sean Browning says Herman starts next year. Herman started this year. But what we've seen from Herman is that at the end of the year, he tends to wear down a little bit. I think Herman would be another candidate to be lights out of the bullpen. Now, look, Zach Britton is gone next year. I mean, he's had Tommy John surgery. I don't think you can count him back. The Yankees are going to be looking for pieces to put into that bullpen that they can control. The bullpen's looking pretty good. I think Lucas Litke, who we haven't seen much lately, will be back. He proved to be pretty effective this year. Got a good curveball, good lefty. Wandy Peralta and Joely Rodriguez have both done a nice job. Clay Holmes has done a really nice job. Mike King has been fantastic. And Mike King is, even though he's been great out of the bullpen, I could see them transitioning him to be a starter next year. I think he could be a Chen Ming Wong type starter now, the way he's got that sinker going, and he's got a really good feel for that breaking ball now, too. Finalage says, hell no, Severino a starter, period. I mean, we'll see how it works out. He's been a great starter in the past, and I wouldn't disagree with you. I just think that for health reasons, if you want him, he's still a young man. I think he's still only about 28 years old, maybe 27, something like that. If you want to keep him healthy for years and years, you got to protect his innings. And I think the Yankees will do that. Michael Rubio says, Luke and Sanchez can go. Sanchez had another tough night tonight. I didn't get the actual numbers on him. 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts, now batting .207 on the year. He was in the DH spot. It's tough to DH. We've talked about that before. Higashioka, though, also 0 for 4, 7 strikeouts between the 6 strikeouts between the two of them, 0 for 7 combined. So tough night for the Yankees catchers, but didn't matter. The Yankees got the win. Evan Sussman says, are we going to re-sign Anthony Rizzo? It'd be interesting if they do. His defense is obviously a huge asset, but the issue is that he's going to want a big contract. And the Yankees still have a lot of money committed all over the roster. I can't see them spending big on a guy who's already in his 30s and who has declined offensively over the last few years. I honestly, I love Rizzo, but I don't think they're going to sign him. Ruben Cruz says, Yanks have huge starting pitching and bullpen depth. And, by the way, a great pitching coach in Matt Blake.
Cruise control.
William Morler wants to get rid of Chapman. A lot of people wanting to get rid of people after we just won. We just won. Look, this team was dead in the water a few months ago. I'm as shocked as anybody that we've turned it around. I'm glad we did. And doing this for an entire season, this is my first entire season doing NYY Recaps. And it's taught me something that I pretty much already knew, but now that it solidifies your opinions and puts it out there, it's that you can't make judgments too quickly. I still think this team has some issues. I still think they strike out too much. I still think that they're a bit too right-handed sometimes. But as we've seen, they can turn it on and go on incredibly hot streaks. So just a huge night for the Yankees. Sean Browning wants Matsui for the hitting coach next year. That's a really good idea. I like Matsui. And he was a very consistent hitter. He would shoot the ball the other way. He would pull it. He hit Pedro really well. But he was one of those, God's gift to hitting from an early age. He was a prodigy. Also, there's the language barrier, so I don't know that you want somebody who has to give instruction to have to do it through an interpreter because it takes twice as long. And I know when you got to work with, 13 or 14 different hitters on the roster, time is of the essence. But I could see Matsui being a hitting instructor during spring training. All right, guys, I appreciate all the love. Big, huge win for the Yankees. Magic number down to 2. Let's hear it one more time from Mr. John Sterling.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
I will see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you, Bronxy. Turtle power. Let's go, Yanks.
Special shout out to the Patreon supporters and anyone else who has supported this channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it the old thumbs up and subscribe for more Yankees content year-round. If you really enjoyed it, check out the Frieze. It's the official podcast of this channel. Or pick up some swag from the Teespring store, link in the description. Thanks for watching.